Swagatam Mitrani. In today's video, we are going to explore a story in Sanskrit. Not only that, we are going to analyze the meaning word by word and eventually analyze the grammar of it in detail. So stay tuned.
Alright, the story that we are going to look at today is Sathyapriyaha Kashtikaha, the truthful woodcutter. Now we are going to look at this story in three parts. First, we are going to read the story together, and then we are going to look into the meanings of each word separately one by one. And finally, we are going to analyze some of the salient grammatical features of this story. It's a basic story, but we can learn a lot. Alright, first let's get started with the story by reading it aloud. Now try to understand the meaning by looking at the pictures. Alright, okay, let's get started. Ekada Kāṣṭikaha vanam gacchati saha kāṣṭāni cedati anavadānāt tasya kutāraha jale patati saha dukhi bhavati. Tada devaha agacchati saha jale praveshya swarna kutaram anayati. Devaha pritchati eshaha tava kutaraha Kāṣṭikaha vadati na eshaha mama kutaraha nasti. Devaha punah jale praveshya raupya kutaram anayati. Kāṣṭikaha punah vadati na eshaha api mama nasti. Antatah devaha loha kutaram anayati. Kāṣṭikaha hrushtaha bhavati saha vadati am eshaha eva mama kutaraha. Devaha prasannaha bhavati saha Kāṣṭikāya sarvān kutārān dadāti. Aho Kāṣṭikasya Sathyapriyata. Alright, as we have now read the story, let us look into the sentences one by one and look at the meanings of each word. Okay, right. Alright, so here is the first sentence. Ekada Kāṣṭikaha vanam gacchati. So if you look at the Sanskrit word and the English translation, Ekada, once, or once upon a time, or one time, long ago, right? Okay. Kāṣṭikaha, the woodcutter. Vanam, the forest. Gacchati, goes. So the overall meaning is, once the woodcutter goes to the forest. If you look at the second sentence, saha kāṣṭāni cedati. Saha means he. Kāṣṭāni, the wooden pieces or logs. Cedati, cuts. So he cuts the wood. One more thing that you have to remember, this whole story is written in simple present tense, that is lat lakara. We will look into that later, but for now just keep in mind this whole story is written in simple present tense. Then anavadanat tasya kutaraha jale patati. So anavadanat, that is due to carelessness. Alright, tasya, his, kutaraha, once again is the axe, jale, jalam is water, jale in the water, patati, it falls. So the overall meaning, due to carelessness or inattention, his axe falls into the water. Saha dukhi bhavati. Saha, once again he, dukhi, sad, and bhavati, becomes. So in other words, he becomes sad. Tada devaha agacchati. So tada, then, and devaha is the god, any deities, agacchati, arrives or comes. So the overall meaning is, then the god comes. Saha jale priveshya swarna kutaram anayati. So saha, once again he, here we are referring to the deity, the god, jale, once again into the water, praveshya, having entered or after entering, swarna kutaram, the golden axe, swarna, gold, swarna kutaram, the golden axe, aneti, brings. So he enters into the water and then brings the golden axe. Having entered into the water, he brings back the golden axe. Devaha pritchati eshaha tava kutaraha. So we find direct speech here. What you find within inverted commas is the word spoken by the god. So Devaha, the god, pritchati, ask the woodcutter, eshaha, this one, tava, your, kutaraha, axe. So the god asks, is this your axe? Kāṣṭikaha vadati. Again, this time direct speech by the woodcutter. Na eshaha mama kutaraha nasti. So Kāṣṭikaha, the woodcutter, once again vadati, says, na, no, eshaha, this one, mama, my, kutaraha, axe, nasti, is not. So the woodcutter says in his own words, no, this is not my axe. And then Devaha punah jale praveshya raupya kutaram anayati. So Devaha, repeatedly certain words are coming so that it's easy to consolidate the meaning. Devaha, God, punah, again, jale, into the water, praveshya, having entered, raupya kutaram. Now this time the silver axe, raupya, silver. So raupya kutaram brings back anayati, brings back the silver axe. So again the god enters the water and brings the silver axe. Kāṣṭikaha punah vadati na eshaha api mama nasti. So again the words uttered by the woodcutter is mentioned within quotation marks. So Kāṣṭikaha, the woodcutter, punah, again, vadati, says, na, no, eshaha api. This one also, mama nasti, not mine. So once more Punaha, the woodcutter says, this is also not mine. Antataha devaha lohakutaram anayati. So antataha, finally, eventually, the god Devaha lohakutaram, the iron axe, anayati, brings. So finally the god brings the iron axe. Kāṣṭikaha hrushtaha bhavati. So the woodcutter, hrushtaha, delighted, happy, feels happy. He becomes happy. The woodcutter becomes happy. Sahavadati, he says, Am eshaha eva mama kutara. So Saha Vadati says, Am, yes, indeed, eshaha eva. This is alone, yes, this one itself, mama, mine, my kutara, axe. So he says, yes, indeed, this is my axe. Devaha prasannaha bhavati. So the god Devaha prasannaha feels happy or pleased. Bhavati, becomes pleased. The god becomes pleased. Saha Kāṣṭikāya sarvān kutaran dadati. So Saha, he, the god, Kāṣṭikāya, to the woodcutter, Kāṣṭikāya, Kaya, to the woodcutter, sarvan, all, kutaran, access, dadati, gives. So the god, he gives all the access to the woodcutter. Finally, aho Kāṣṭikasya Sathyapriyata. Aho, oh, it's a kind of exclamation. Aho Kāṣṭikasya Sathyapriyata. Oh, look at the woodcutter's truthfulness, the sincerity. Oh, the woodcutter's truthfulness. Alright, so that's the word by word meaning analysis of this story. Now let us look at the grammar analysis. Alright, let us now analyze the grammar of this story. This whole story is written in simple present tense, and some of these basic grammatical structures are used. So there are a few things that we need to look into. Let's get started. Alright, so first of all, so unlike English, where normal sentence order is subject, verb, object, in Sanskrit mostly it is subject, object, verb. So subject is called kartar, and the object is karma, and then the verb is kriya or dhatu. Alright, so so typically Sanskrit follows subject, object, verb order. So if you look at this example from the story, ekada Kāṣṭikaha vanam gacchati. So look at these three words. Alright, we'll come back to this ekada next, but look at these three words. So Kāṣṭikaha, the woodcutter, is the subject, the doer of this action. Vanam is the object, the forest, and gacchati is the action. So the woodcutter, forest, goes. So this is a typical order of Sanskrit sentences, just like any other Indian languages. So ekada Kāṣṭikaha vanam gacchati. We'll talk about this ekada, but if you look at these three words, the doer, and then the object, and then the action, kartar, karma, and then kriya. Alright, okay. Now, as I just mentioned, that if you look at the first word of the story, we find this ekada, right? Ekada and another word like tada. So we call them kalavachaka shabdaha. So these comes under the category category of avyayam or avyayani, right? So they are standalone words. They don't get modified by any other verbs or nouns. They just stand alone, and without changing their form, they give meaning in any place used in sentences. So ekada means once, and tada means then. So these are adverbs that marks a sequence, all right, an order. So if you look at this sentence, ekada Kāṣṭikaha vanam gacchati. And then another sentence, tada devaha agacchati. So ekada once, tada then, tada devaha agacchati. So these help to organize the narration in a chronological way of the story. Right, so keep that in mind. Right, now let us look at one of the important grammatical aspect in Sanskrit language, that is Vibhakti. Right, Vibhakti is cases. Now there are a total of 8 cases, but here there are some listed out, some of the main cases used in this story. So we have this, the first case is what you call Prathama Vibhakti, which marks the subject. Now for example, Kāṣṭikaha, Devaha. Now these are the doers, the one who does an action. So they call them subject. They comes under Prathama Vibhakti. That's the first case. And then we have the object cases, where accusative, or we call them Dvitiya Vibhakti. For example, Vanam Kashtani Swarna Kutaram. So Vanam Gacchati. So the doer performs a particular action and performs onto something, and that is the object. So Vanam, Kashtani and Swarna Kutaram, these are considered to be objects or direct objects, and they falls into the case category of Dvitiya Vibhakti. And then there is something called Tritiya Vibhakti. Now we use them to give a cause or to denote some cause. Now for example here, Anavdanat. So by, or in other words, unintentionally, or without intention, or by intention. Okay, by in intention. All right, I'm sorry. So when you use, when you do something with something or by something, we used to indicate them with Tritiya Vibhakti. It falls under the category of instrumental case. And there is something called the dative case, and we call it Chaturtha Vibhakti, where you give something to someone, to or for. We use this particular Vibhakti. For example, Kāṣṭikāya, to the woodcutter. Sahas Kāṣṭikāya sarvān kutārān dadāti. So the god gives the access, all the access to the woodcutter. So to or for. In that sense, we use this Chaturthi Vibhakti. And one more that is quite notable is that Saptami Vibhakti, where the location is mentioned, Jale Praveshya, so into the water. So it shows, indicates the location. For this kind of cases, we use Saptami Vibhakti. Alright, and there are some word combinations are used. In Sanskrit, you can see that words are often joined together, merged together, and created with a new word. They combine nouns together, and then adjectives, nouns together, just like in English. So if you look at here, this word, for example, Swarna Kutaram. Now Swarna Kutaram is a compound noun, compound word, which has two words in it. One is Swarna, golden, used as an adjective, and then Kutaram, of course, axe. So when you combine these two together, it becomes Swarna Kutaram. Alright, we call them Samasa. And then Raupya Kutaram, Loha Kutaram. So Loha plus Kutaram, Loha Kutaram, Raupya plus Kutaram, Raupya Kutaram. So silver axe and iron axe. So this is how adjectives and nouns together form to create a compound noun, compound word. We call them Samasa, and it's quite common in Sanskrit to put several words together and form a single compound noun. And we can see here, as I mentioned before, the use of tense. So mainly they are using lat lakara here, lat kala, that is present tense. Okay, all the verbs are used in present tense as it's just a story narration. So you can see here gacchati, chedati, then patati, bhavati, then agacchati, anayati, vadati, prichati, and dadati. So these are all verbs. So the whole story is written in lat lakara. There are about 10 tenses, and this is one of them. All right. Right. And we can also see some kridanta. That means some uses of gerund or past participle form. For example, praveshya. So having entered into water. So these are kind of use of the gerund form. Now, for example, saha jale praveshya swarna kutaram aneti. So praveshya modifies the process of bringing the axe, right? So having entered into water. So it indicates a kind of participle functionality here. So to indicate this kind of participle functionality, we use something called this kridanta forms. One of the most commonly repeated word is praveshya. Jale praveshya swarna kutaram anayati. Okay, right. And the other important thing that you need to note down here is that usually the direct speeches are not marked with inverted commas and all in the Sanskrit, traditional Sanskrit writing. But in order to simplify the reading process, we have used question marks and then inverted commas. But in traditional writing, we don't use them. But you can see that the direct speech method is used here. Devaha prichati, eshaka tava kutaraha. Alright. So remember that usually Sanskrit often relies on contextual meaning, but in order to simplify the narration part here, direct speech is used within inverted commas and all, but otherwise usually they are not. They should be understood from the context itself. And also we can see some copular sentences or adjectival predicates. We call them visheshanam. For example, saha dukhi bhavati, Kāṣṭikaha hriṣṭaha bhavati. Dukhi hriṣṭaha. Now this dukhi bhavati hriṣṭaha bhavati. Dukhi hriṣṭaha. Now they function as a predicate that is linked to this verbs bhavati, bhavati becomes. Now these are kind of adjectivals that agree with this noun and they modifies the quality of this verb action. So we call them visheshanam. Alright, dukhi, hriṣṭaha. Alright, these are some of these examples. And as you can see here, as I mentioned before also, you can see some direct objects and dative cases here. For example, Saha Kāṣṭikāya sarvān kutārān dadāti. So Kāṣṭikāya to the woodcutter is the dative case, where everything is given to the woodcutter, Kāṣṭikāya, while sarvān kutārān is the accusative plural direct form. So what does the god give to the woodcutter? So the god gave all the wood access, right? So as you can see here, Saha Kāṣṭikāya sarvān kutārān dadāti. So in the dative case, it is mentioned that the object, direct object, that is kotara, has been given to the woodcutter. Right. So here you can see, as I mentioned before, so the dative case, that is, if you look at the Vibhakti section, we can understand that the dative part is considered to come here into the Chaturthi Vibhakti. Right. So the same thing is used here with the direct object. So Saha Kāṣṭikāya sarvān kutārān dadāti. So Kāṣṭikāya is Chaturthi Vibhakti. Sarvān kutārān, all the access. That is considered to be direct objects. Alright. Yeah. And finally, we can see some exclamations used here, especially Aho. Aho Kāṣṭikasya Sathyapriyaha. Now Aho is an explanation, exclamatory exclamation here, alright? It's used as sense of Aho, and it is again Avyayam, alright? One of the Avyayani. And Kāṣṭikasya Sathyapriyaha. So Kāṣṭikasya again genitive case, and then Sathyapriyaha, truthfulness. So Aho is used as an exclamation expression, which are quite common in the Sanskrit language. Alright, right. So with that, we are ending this story. Hope you have learned something. So if you have learned something, give a like and subscribe to this channel, so that you can expect this kind of videos in the future. So I'll see you in the next lesson.